Welcome to the Parenting Roundabout Speed Round, where we answer a quick question every day to keep our group chat fun going all week long. Today's question, tell us about your first car. Now, I have to clarify, do we mean the first car you purchased with your own money or the first car you learned to drive with?
Well, the first car I purchased with my own money did not happen until I was married and had a kid. So, if you want to hear about that one,
tell us about that one.
How did you manage?
Well, because I went to college in urban Philadelphia and then I lived in New York City. So there was really no need to have a car and no place to put one.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I started living with my husband, then he had a car and that's all we needed. And then finally, when we had our first kid, I finally got my own car. She was 3 weeks old when we got a station wagon. But yeah, and I learned to drive on my parents' cars, and once in a while I got to drive those when I was a kid. And it became my job to go buy the milk for the family. As soon as I learned how to drive, that was my job.
Yeah, I learned to drive on my parents' Buick Special. Those were back in the days when there was as much car in front of the steering wheel as there was behind the back seat. And the passenger compartment was just like a little blip in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I can't imagine now having to back one of those into a parallel parking space or turn it on a tight turn, boy, did you feel safe. There was a lot of real estate between you and anything that was going to hit you or you were going to hit.
There was one summer during college where I lived with my mom, and it's a long story, but I needed a rental car, like a 3-month-long lease, and somehow I ended up with a Lincoln Town car.
Me too.
An old one. So, yeah, that thing was large.
But I think the first car, when I moved to Kansas City, I bought a car, but I think it was like I traded in one of my parents' cars for it, so it wasn't entirely bought by me, and it exploded after a year and a half. So
oh dear,
I don't necessarily count that. But after that, when I got back to California, I bought this used yellow Chevette. It was like lemon yellow, and so it should have been a lemon, but it was the best car I've ever had. It was just a great little car. It was a little scratched up inside. It wasn't real slick, but it got me where I was going. So I had to leave it behind in California because it never would have made it in New Jersey, but I miss that car still. That was a good car. How about you, Nicole? What was your first car?
Oh boy, I learned to drive on my parents' 1977 station wagon.
Wow.
With brown wood paneling.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure if it was a 1977 model, but it was pretty darn old.
Not a compact car, I'm guessing.
It was not compact. Like you said, there was a lot of real estate in the front and the back, and a lot of sway.
Oh, yeah.
And then when I went away to university, when I started college, I bought my first car after my first summer job, and it was a Chevy Sprint, which was a small little tiny compact thing with no real estate whatsoever. And I drove that, and it was a stick shift, and I didn't know how to use a stick shift, but I bought it anyway and tried to drive it off the lot. And then my dad promptly stopped me, and we had to change seats, and he drove it off the lot. And yeah, that thing lasted with me for right through until my son was born.
Wow.
He was about 2 years old. So yeah, it was a good little car.
Don't make cars like they used to.
No.
For better or for worse. And that's it for today's Speed Round. Come back tomorrow for another question and visit parentingroundabout.com for all our group chats and other weekly episodes.